Most believers won't admit it, but one of the most painful and confusing battles they face in silence is financial lack. Not because they're lazy or undisciplined, but because there are spiritual dynamics at work they've never been taught to recognize. You pray, you tithe, you serve, and yet the breakthrough doesn't come, and the secret torment begins. Why am I still struggling? One reason many Christians remain stuck financially is because they unknowingly carry a poverty mindset passed down from generations, limiting beliefs that sound spiritual but are actually rooted in fear, not faith. They quote Philippians 4 verse 11 about being content, but forget that Paul also said, "My God will supply all your needs," Philippians 4 verse 19. Not just spiritually, but materially. This mindset tricks you into glorifying struggle, subtly resisting abundance as if desiring more for your family or your calling makes you worldly, when in fact, Deuteronomy 8 verse 18 says God gives power to produce wealth so he can establish his covenant through you. Another hidden reason is disobedience disguised as comfort. God gives an instruction, a prompting to start something, move, risk, invest, apply, but fear says not now, and delayed obedience becomes disobedience. The command you've been ignoring has locked some of the very doors you've been praying for. Recall the time when God instructed Elijah to travel to Zarephath, citing a command for provision there, 1 Kings 17 verse 9. If Elijah stayed where it was familiar, the brook would have dried up and the raven would have stopped, just like many believers today, who stay in dry places out of fear and call it waiting on the Lord. But here's a deeper truth few talk about. Some believers are under spiritual embargo because of unresolved covenants or generational bondage. Your financial ceiling isn't natural, it's spiritual, and no budget app can fix what needs to be broken through in prayer and fasting. Haggai 1 verse 6 warns that misaligned priorities lead you to earn wages only to put them in bags with holes. When you neglect what God has asked you to build, you end up exhausting yourself trying to sustain what God hasn't blessed. But the most shocking reason believers stay broke is because of what I call harvest neglect. You sow, but you don't know how to reap. There are believers who fast, pray, give, and yet when the opportunity shows up, they shrink back, not realizing that favor often looks like work, like strategy, like risk. Proverbs 10 verse 5 says, "He who gathers in summer is a wise son, but he who sleeps during harvest is shameful," which means the harvest isn't automatic just because you sowed. It requires discernment and boldness. God might send the blessing in the form of a contract, a collaboration, a crazy idea in the middle of the night, but because you expect manna to fall from heaven, you miss the field he told you to work. If you're still waiting for a financial miracle but refuse to shift your mind, your habits, and your spiritual authority, you'll keep walking in circles like Israel in the wilderness, free but not fruitful. The enemy is perfectly fine with you going to heaven as long as you never access kingdom resources on earth. But here's the challenge. You have to break the agreement with lack. Stop calling struggles your portion and start partnering with God for provision. Not just for yourself, but to fund kingdom assignments. The wealth of the wicked is laid up for the righteous, Proverbs 13 verse 22. But if the righteous won't step into wisdom, warfare, and work, the transfer will never happen. You are not meant to live paycheck to paycheck while carrying the Spirit of the living God inside you. Repent where you need to, obey where you've hesitated, fast if you must. But don't you dare settle in the wilderness when Canaan is calling.